In this video, we will explore whether God exists or not, and what the implications are for society. Just so we're clear, atheists believe that there is no God, whereas theists believe God does exist or several gods exist. The primary criticism that atheists levy at theists is that theists lack rationality and blindly follow whatever religious leaders tell them to. And this is a valid criticism, which encompasses two major problems. One is the cult mentality, whereby group dynamics can encourage people to adopt a prescribed worldview in order to fit in. And this is a problem when manipulators exploit the gullible and less intelligent instead of assisting and guiding them. The other is the institutionalization and centralization of religious power. This is a problem because what starts off as preaching humility and submission in awe of the unimaginable power of the omnipresence of God ends up with the religious leaders doing the exact opposite and becoming megalomaniacal tyrants, scrambling for control of an enormously powerful religious institution like the Vatican. The other problem with the centralization of large amounts of power is that exploitative, malevolent, and evil people can't wait to get in there and take it over, which is exactly what has happened with the Vatican. And when evil people infiltrate and take over any institution, whether it be a football club, a business, or a religion, regular people get exploited and harmed ideologically, economically, or spiritually. Theists claim that religion is descended from divine revelation, that spiritual truth was imparted to a few worthy people who then teach it to others in that location. Now, obviously, any old con man can come along and say, "Behold, ye peasants, God spoke to me and said, you've got to give me all your money and worship at my feet." But when you look at what religions teach, except for the devil-worshipping religions, the dominant religions generally encourage moral behavior. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not lie, and thou shalt not try to get jiggy with your neighbour when their partner's away on business, and so on. When considered as whether or not these moral religious teachings are generally bad or good for society, it's clear that the original intention is to benefit society by establishing a clear code of morality everywhere the religion is heard. Atheism is more interested in categorical proof. Atheists want to see some physical evidence before they believe anything, which is a responsible position to adopt and would likely prevent an atheist from being harmed by exploitative cults. The fundamental position of atheism is not pro-atheism, it is anti-theism. Almost all of the core arguments of atheism are attempting to attack other people's beliefs and ridicule them as invalid. Atheists appear to do this comprehensively if the basis of their claims are not in doubt. The core issues are these: 1. How humans came to be. 2. The age of the world. 3. Why there are different religions. And 4. Why theists' prayers never seem to be answered. So number 1 then, how man came to be. Theists claim that God created man. Atheists claim that man evolved from fish to lizard to monkey to human in the theory of evolution. If God does exist, God is a spiritual entity, not a physical entity. So what a spiritual entity is capable of, we have no idea, because it's not a physical entity which we can see or measure. And this is a leap of faith because we are being asked to believe in something which we cannot prove with physical evidence even exists. Atheists suggest that the non-existence of physical evidence of God is reason enough to deny all spiritual possibilities, because atheists are only concerned with physical material existence. Theists, on the other hand, believe that there is more to life than just the temporary material existence, and some have decided to heed the guidance of their particular spirituality and live their life according to the moral principles it teaches, in the hope that when they die, which they will be rewarded with huge spiritual benefits. Either for the Eastern religions like Buddhism, their accumulated good karma will return them to a good and healthy body next time around, or for Christians who believe in Jesus Christ, their soul will dwell forever in the warmth and glow of God in the kingdom of heaven. And atheists find it hard to imagine what that might be like after we die, because they are only interested in material, physical evidence. Atheists have rejected the possibility that a spiritual world which we cannot see nor measure might exist. A popular opinion which is used to attack the theists' belief is the theory of evolution. Now, we would hope that this is true because it's a version of history which is being taught all around the Western world. However, there are a number of big historical events, for example in World War II and in 1969, which we now know are total lies. But the same group of people who perpetrated the lies then still control the media today. And as Winston Churchill said, history is written by the victors. So we can't guarantee that the theory of evolution is not also a total lie designed to attack and undermine Christianity and Islam by a competing faith. However, the theory of evolution sounds plausible because it is based on something which is true, and that is natural selection. We can observe human reproductive choices where the better genetic examples are preferred over lesser genetic examples. The same is true in the animal kingdom, where generation to generation a species evolves by the principle of survival of the fittest. This is true, and we can observe it happening. But natural selection is only concerned with one species improving itself. So rabbits will choose a good partner rabbit and reproduce healthy young rabbits. The theory of evolution, however, makes the rather ludicrous claim that one species, like a rabbit, would mysteriously become a totally different species, like a fox or a wolf or a bear, in a long process to supposedly explain how man was made. So if the theory of evolution were true, that would mean that there would have to be totally unnatural cross-species breeding, which does not occur. There are no rabbits trying to have sex with a fox. There are no foxes trying to have sex with a wolf. And there are no wolves trying to have sex with a bear. Cross-species breeding does not happen. To say that one species, like a chicken, somehow stops being a chicken and wakes up one day to find it's now a goat is utterly farcical. The theory of evolution is an asinine hypothesis which is rendered false by the mildest question of practicality. If the theory of evolution were true, why haven't birds evolved to become humans yet? If the theory of evolution were true, why are monkeys not growing taller and becoming less hairy with each generation? After all, they reproduce quicker than humans, yet monkeys reproduce with natural selection and keep giving birth to monkeys, not people, not grizzly bears, no, monkeys. If the theory of evolution were true, why has no fisherman in the world ever witnessed a fish grow stumpy little legs and walk out of the sea? The theory of evolution is a fraudulent lie, which means that the only explanation we know of for the creation of mankind is the theistic narrative of man being created by God. There is what appears to be a killer blow to the theists in the form of the atheistic claim that the earth is 4.5 billion years old, whereas the Holy Scriptures place it more around 6,000 years in Jesus' time. But if the theory of evolution is a virulent lie designed to attack people's faith, is it possible that the claimed age of the earth would also be a fraudulent lie designed to attack people's faith? There is corruption in science, and it has been getting worse over the last century as one group rise to dominance. Big science told us that asbestos was perfectly safe and we should put it in our houses. We now know that they were lying, and asbestos is very harmful to health. Big science told us that tobacco was safe. We now know that tobacco is highly addictive and causes cancer. The evidence demonstrates time and again that big science will publish lies for agendas other than the truth. The theory of 4.5 billion years first came from Claire Cameron Patterson in 1956. The hypothesis is incredibly weak. The argument is that no geological sample on Earth can be used to date the age of planet Earth, supposedly because of weathering and mixing materials. So instead, meteorites from outer space, like the Canyon Diablo, Devil's Canyon meteorite in Arizona, were measured. Not to tell us the age of the meteorite, but miraculously, the meteorite, hailed from outer space, not from Earth, allegedly tells us the age of the Earth. It's a very, very weak argument, which does not even make sense logically. Yet the number 4.5 billion has been drummed into the heads of school children almost as successfully as the number 6 million Jews. But are these numbers truth or lies? When atheists dismiss the 6,000-year figure, they make a very big assumption that the calendar year then is the same as what we consider a calendar year today. Now, considering there are astrological references like the sun, the moon, and the star in the east, it is likely that the unit of year used in the Bible is the great year, which is totally different to the 365 days we are familiar with. The great year is also known as the precession of the equinoxes. The process of axial precession is a very slow rotation, not of the Earth, but of the Earth's axis itself, taking around 26,000 years to complete only one cycle, or great year.
If you have a perfectly spherical spinning object, then it won't actually precess at all, because there's really no difference as you reorient it. It doesn't really change at all. But because the Earth is slightly oblate, it's slightly squashed, that means that if you reorient it, you're actually kind of changing the configuration of the whole Earth. And so the Earth is a spinning non-spherical object, and that means that when you try and twist it, the axis that it's rotating about will start to precess around.
So because it's spinning, it doesn't want to go that way. It wants to waggle round very slowly, like this. This is called the axial precession of the Earth. Now that is quite amazing, but even more amazing is the fact that there was a Greek guy who, in about 120 BC, measured it.
Newton was the one who actually understood what the effect was, but in fact the measurement of the effect, the measurement of this precession, goes back much further than that. There's some argument about who the first person who actually made the measurement actually was, but it seems likely that one of the first reliable measurements was actually Hipparchus in about 150 BC. Because the forces involved are actually very small, and the Earth's mass is very large, the timescales are very long. It precesses on a timescale of about 26,000 years. It takes about 26,000 years for the Earth's axis to precess around.
If the Bible refers to 6,000 great years, we must understand this means 6,000 multiplied by 26,000, which equates to the Earth being around 156 billion years old. This timescale allows for ice ages, continental shifts, tectonic plate movements, and all the measurable geological events which scientific evidence can prove to be real. Number 3. Why there are different religions. Atheists argue that the thousands of different denominations of religion prove God doesn't exist. This assumes that if God exists, only a singular communist-style organization would be valid. A centralized power structure, however, would be an attractive target for evil men to take over, as the size and influence of such centralized power would be irresistible to those who profit from deception and exploitation. In this respect, many different denominations of a religion are a good thing, meaning if one branch gets corrupted by evil exploiters, then many other denominations remain intact. It is not just the Abrahamic God of Jesus Christ which Christianity and Islam worship. There are, of course, other religions which teach reincarnation, meaning you are effectively trapped here on earth, being reborn again and again, whereas Christianity and Islam have the possibility to transcend this earthly plane and enter the kingdom of heaven. There are also religions which oppose God, like Satanism,